Hello and welcome to Take Flight Live with Phoenix Stage Company, an award-winning 100% volunteer community theater organization located in Oakville, Connecticut. I'm Ed Bassett, Executive Director of Phoenix Stage Company and your host, along with Tim Phillips. Say hello, Tim.
Hello!
Also in the room with us today is our techie producer, Michael Calabrese. Say hello.
Hello!
And we have our lighting genius, Al Hathaway, way back there.
Hey, how are you?
There you go. So that's all of us in the room. We are distanced. We're going to prove it. Here, Tim.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, what do you got here?
Yeah, 6 feet 3 inches. That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Good. Tim, what are we doing on the podcast today?
On tonight's podcast, we will be discussing virtual performances and the licenses that are required to do so, using information provided by Craig Popisil from Dramatist Play Service. And as if that wasn't enough, we will be visiting with our dear friend, Teresa Alexandru.
That's right.
As a regular here at Phoenix Stage Company.
One of our veterans. Now, don't forget, through the process, if you've not already done it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's really important. Now, some of you have already done that. Some of you have done that anonymously, so we can't see who you are. That's fine, and you can do that. The problem is you won't win any prizes. If we can see who you are, you're assigned a number, and we're going to be playing games with our guests while we're doing this series of podcasts, and you could win a prize. So make sure that we can see who's following, and we'll give you a number, and then when it's picked, you might win a prize. Who knows?
I do have to say you're looking very dapper tonight.
And so are you, Tim.
Thank you.
Love the ruffles.
Like
there.
I dug this out from my closet. This was the actual tux that I wore for my high school prom.
Really?
45 years ago today. Can you believe that?
That's a great ruffle. I'm sure you had more hair then.
A little.
Yeah, a little.
There's stuff in the pocket, though. Oh, it's my claim check for my car. I always wonder what happened to it that night. And then,
what else do you?
Oh, yeah. One more thing.
So you haven't washed your tuxedo since prom?
45 years.
Oh.
It's a mint.
Oh, no, don't. Ah! Oh, gross. Those things never go bad. Wow. They never go bad, so it's absolutely fine. Also, hairy, while you're watching tonight, remember you can donate at any time to Phoenix Stage Company using the link below your screen. That would be awesome. And if you have any questions during tonight or any comments you'd like to make, you can make them onto the side of the screen there. There's the little chat box, and our techie producer, Michael, will relay the questions to us using our very high-tech whiteboard. So you can go ahead and ask those questions.
It'd take me a little while to get through.
Well, yeah, just wash it down with some Black Hog.
Oh, with
Black Hog Brewing Company from Oxford, Connecticut.
Does that go with mint?
You're about to find out if it's going to go with your mint.
Wow, that's really a bad combination.
Sure it is. Mint beer.
Mint beer. You're wondering why we're dressed like this. That we're wondering why we're dressed like this, but we're dressed like this because this is our first weekly live podcast.
That's right. Take Flight Live. Now we have a regular podcast, Take Flight with Phoenix Stage Company. This is our first live. We'll be on every Thursday night at 7 o'clock, doing something different each week. We'll be dressed different each week. Never know what you're going to see. Might pull out some drag.
What?
Yeah.
News to me.
Yeah, it could be fun. So we're going to talk about virtual licensing.
Yes. With all the theaters being dark right now, we've all had to become a little more creative about theater. As you can see, well, you can't see because we're just focused on this table, but we are actually in the Phoenix Stage Company house, and it's empty. And it has been empty since early March.
March 20th. The wall behind us is actually covered in a curtain, but this was part of the set for the Cayuga Canal Girls. We stopped rehearsal on March 20th.
Just about to go into Hell Week.
We were just going into Hell Week, yeah.
Hell Week, for those who don't know, means the week before the show actually opens. So one thing that's happened with theaters all being dark is they've looked for new ways to keep the theaters alive.
It's true.
And virtual theater is one of those things that are done. We've already done a night of monologues.
We did.
And that was pretty successful.
It was Voices for Phoenix, and there'll be another one coming up soon.
Yep. But just like any other show, if you're going to do something, you still have to pay for the royalties and the licensing fees.
You do, if it's a published or copyrighted show.
You think it's pretty cut and dry.
No.
Really not. And this is what you learned.
It is.
Right?
I spent the last few days and actually over the week talking to different representatives from different publishing houses. Craig Pospisil from Dramatic Publishing. He is the director of non-professional licensing or royalties, as it's called. And he took some time to talk to me on the phone. We did about a 20-minute phone interview. That interview in its entirety will be published as part of our regular podcast. And that'll be up on our website in just a few days. We just have to do some editing of the other parts of it. And you'll be able to hear my interview with Craig on that. But we've taken some of that information combined with information that I got from Dramatic Publishing and from Concord, which is the old Samuel French.
Right.
And I've kind of put all this information together.
Before we talk about the licenses, are there such things as free plays out
Well,
there?
there are. And before I do this, I want to say this. I am not an expert in streaming or virtual licenses. I'm not. I'm just sharing information that was shared with me from the experts. You can always find more information by going to their websites and looking up their FAQ pages, their frequently asked questions, and you're going to get more. So to answer that, yes, there are free plays out there, but just because they are free plays, it doesn't mean you can just do them. So there are different websites you can go to. For example, dramaticpublishing.com, Dramatic Publishing, they have a whole list of royalty-free plays that you can do, but you still have to request permission to do them. They want to make sure they know who's doing the work and where it's being done. So they can also share it with people as well. There's also cryhavoc.com.
Great name.
A great name. That's all free monologues and one-act plays. I just recently found them. From what I can tell, you don't need any permission to do those at all. So we're going to be using those in the future for monologues and things like that we do. So you should always contact a publisher before committing yourself to streaming anything, just to cover yourself.
Now, one of the names that keeps coming up, you hear this said a lot when we're dealing with this kind of thing, is public domain. Public domain is kind of a broad answer.
It is.
What does it really say?
It's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
So public domain means that the copyright on a piece has expired. It means that you then can use this piece.
Right.
So in general, works published after 1977 won't fall into the public domain until 70 years after the death of the author. So yeah, we were doing the math. Neil Simon, we're going to wait a long time.
Neil Simon, you have to wait till 20.
But then there's
98.
more to it, like corporate work, anonymous work, work for hire. It's 95 years from the date of publication or 120 years from the date of creation, whichever expires first. It's really confusing, but you can search online and you can find things that are going into the public domain each year. For example, in 2020, anything published in 1924 will be going into public domain because they can't continue or extend the copyrights anymore. I just learned that in 2019, all of the works by Oscar Wilde went into public domain. So the importance of being earnest and all of these other things. Again, it doesn't mean you can buy a script from a publisher and do that play for free, because you can take a play that's in public domain, write a piece based on it, and it's copyrighted. So just be cautious of that. Always check with the publisher.
Just be aware that anything from the Middle Ages, you're probably good to go. Is there something, if something is in the public domain, can you do whatever you want with it?
The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the short answer is yes. But if something is in the public, it's not in the public domain. So for example, on YouTube, if you see something on YouTube and it's on there, that's not public domain. It's there for the public to view it, but you can't then take that property and do something else with it. So it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that it's in the public domain. If it is, yes, you can take the characters, you can take the story, you can warp it, and you can make your own.
Okay, let's say I find a public domain piece, something Shakespeare, anything Shakespeare, say, and you adapt it.
Yes.
For us right here in the stage.
Yeah.
Do you have to copyright it? And then can you copyright it? And if that's the case, will you own the story then?
Okay, there's the other thing. You cannot copyright. Okay, so you're not going to own it. You can copyright and publish your piece,
right,
but you won't own the story. So for example, if you write a play based on a novel in the public domain, Your play will be copyrighted and protected, but you do not own the source material for your piece.
Okay.
That's why there are so many Christmas carols out there.
Right.
Because Christmas Carol is in the public domain, but then people take it and they write all these other versions. Those individual versions, if they are published and copyrighted, you can't take those versions and perform them.
Is that how we got to this whole Peter Pan thing you were talking about?
Correct, because, okay, so the characters of Peter Pan are in the public domain.
Yep.
The story of Peter Pan is not in the public domain. The story was left to a children's hospital in London. So the rights to that belong to that children's hospital, but the characters are public domain. I was mentioning to you earlier when we were having a conversation. In 2023, a lot of Disney characters are going into the public domain. All of the old Looney Tune characters, Snow White will be in the public domain. The characters,
Mickey and
not
Minnie,
the stories.
Donald.
Mickey and Minnie is a little while away.
Okay.
Because they haven't reached the expiration of renewing copyrights.
Okay.
But in 2023, there's a whole chunk of stuff from Disney, for example, that will go public domain, but it's the characters, not the stories that they've written about.
So you can't take their stories, but you can write your own stories.
You can use the characters, but you can't use the stories. Yeah.
Let's get into licensing. If do I need a license if I only want to do part of a play, like a monologue?
You absolutely do. If a work is copyrighted,
yeah,
you have to get a license. Now, if you go to a publishing website, we have to apply for licenses for theaters for all of the shows that we do, right? So we go to the websites, we apply for the license, we have a lot of information we have to put in there. And there's a small little section that you can check off if it's for a festival, which means it allows you to cut pieces, and then they're going to want more information for you. That does not include monologues. That's not what this is kind of about. It's not for streaming or virtual work. The answer that I got from most of the publishers is it's going to cost you more if you want to do a monologue from 5 plays than if you were to do one play. So, for example, we were looking at a Neil Simon play. We were looking at doing a monologue from a Neil Simon play. We were going to have to pay the royalties for the full production.
Wow.
In order to do the monologue. And then they said, anyway, it doesn't matter because no Neil Simon work is allowed to be cut down for monologues. And none of those works are being allowed to go virtual or streaming by the agents. Yeah. So when we apply with the publishers, they then have to contact the agents and the playwrights and ask permission to give virtual or streaming rights.
It's a crazy thing.
It's crazy.
But this is something all brand new that's really come to the forefront because of the COVID-19.
It is. Absolutely, it is. It is.
All right. Now, this is a question I had about this, and I've heard this from other people too. There's this conception out there that if you use only just a little bit of something, 30 seconds of a song, 30 seconds of a play or something, you're fine. You don't need to pay for any royalties. Is that true?
Well, okay. So this is called fair trade. And that's a really sticky situation. You research it and you talk to people and it's really, really sticky. Mm-hmm. The answer that I got from all the publishers was no. You may not have words from a script or music from a musical used in a public format like YouTube or whatever, or advertising without express permission. Now, so one publisher said, absolutely not, we don't allow it. And another publisher said, it's a case-by-case basis.
Right.
You have to contact the publisher, they contact the agent of the playwright, and they get permission for you to record a snippet or a portion. They all talked about the fact that people do the, well, I'll do it and then I'll ask forgiveness later.
I was going to bring that up.
And the warning that I got on that from all of them was, now that things are going virtual and streaming, they don't buy that anymore.
Right.
And they said they're going to be watching, and as they always do, and it's just they're not going to take that anymore because now this is a new format that's developing because of the COVID-19 situation.
Instead of sneaking people into a theater to see if you're doing the show right, they're going to be having people watch YouTube. And...
Oh, they don't sneak. You have to give them tickets.
Oh,
they don't sneak. They don't. There's nothing sneaky. It's all good. Yeah.
So I mean, the bottom line of this, if you're not sure.
If you're not sure,
ask somebody.
Ask. Like I said, they all have the little FAQ or frequently asked question pages on their websites, and they're willing to take questions. They're willing to talk to you. And as I said, One publisher said absolutely not. We don't allow anything. And others said case by case. Just ask.
Yeah.
Just
Just
ask.
to be safe, because the last
Yeah.
thing you want to do is, especially if you're a community theater,
Right.
is have to deal with a lawsuit.
Well, it's or a cease and desist
Or a
kind of a
cease and
thing.
desist.
Yeah, and it's, you know what, I kind of feel like if I'm equipped and I have the information, then if somebody in the audience asks, I can say, I can give them a correct answer that I've gotten from a publisher
Right.
that I'm dealing with.
Do you
So,
think this is a wave of the future, virtual performancing?
yes. Yeah. All of the representatives that I spoke to
Right.
said that in their opinion, yes, this was already something that was kind of developing. Like they were starting to look at
leaning towards
virtual
that.
formats.
Yeah.
But now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the shutdowns that are happening, they're developing new systems to deal with this. So they're actually asking their playwrights, their published playwrights, to write or to adapt some of their pieces to fit a virtual format. Yeah.
How
So
would that go? How would what differences is, well, I mean, obviously we're dealing with having actors on stage trying to be keeping a separate
for
space,
example, my play, The Dating Game,
yes,
that we did it down in Naugatuck.
Yep.
And it was on the publisher's desk and it was being worked on. Well, now it's being reformatted to more of a virtual format. So it can be done via Zoom,
right.
or different rooms of a theater.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so it will be written for a virtual format.
So I guess the word for playwrights out there is start thinking virtually, or both.
Both. I
Yeah.
mean, both. The big question for all theaters right now, and this is all, I sat on a roundtable because of the Greater Waterbury Arts and Culture Collaborative, an amazing organization that we're a member of. And I sat on a kind of a virtual roundtable with a bunch of other executive directors, leaders of theaters, and the question was coming up: how do we handle actors on stage?
Right.
How do we social distance actors? How do we do musicals? And that's something that has to work its way out. We're all going to be working on that for a while.
As I mentioned this before, we've talked about so much has gone into for not just theaters, movie theaters, businesses. So much has gone into the getting ready for the customers. Case in point, the casino is just opening. That we tend to forget that, or not forget, but we put secondary cause of the theater, the actors. And
well, we have to think of our volunteers and our actors as the employees of a grocery store or the employees of another type of service industry. We have to keep them in mind.
And it's safe enough to have all the changes we will be making before we open our doors again. But the creative space changes tremendously.
It sure does. It sure does.
And that's what's probably going to take the longest to figure out.
And that's an experiment. So we're learning. We're going to learn as we go. Yeah.
Virtual licensing is something that's going to be out there now. So
sure.
What are the costs involved? Are they comparable to putting on a play?
Right now, they all seem pretty comparable to what you're putting on.
Yeah.
Where it gets sticky is in recording and broadcasting recordings and things like that, because you still have to have a contract. So right now it seems like the prices are all the same. When we were looking at doing a monologue from one of Neil Simon's plays, the initial answer was you're going to have to pay royalties for the performance, and it's the same.
Yeah.
And it's the same.
And that was for one performance.
It was for one performance.
Right. Another question that has come up about this is, will we be able to, if we do virtual performing, will we be able to record and then rebroadcast these performances?
For the use of virtual or streaming, yes, but you can only stream them, whether it's a live stream or a recorded stream, for the duration of your contract.
Okay.
So just like on the live stage, if we paid for royalties to do 7 performances of a show, we can only provide 7 performances virtually or through streaming.
Right.
So, and then
but do one show and then repeat it.
You can, or you will either do live or whatever, but at the conclusion of the contract, any recordings need to be destroyed. They need to be destroyed, and they can't be saved in the public domain. So they can't be saved on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that. Yeah. It's all about security of the work for the playwright and for the agents.
That makes sense, which is why rights were granted in the first
place. Correct.
One What about viewership? How is there a limit to how many people can see a show?
So that's another really hard one, right? How do you limit that? So some of the publishers are working with specific platforms.
Okay.
So ticketing groups, ticketing agencies that are developing platforms for streaming and virtual performances. They're asking for what's called geo filtering. And what that means is you will only be able to sell tickets in your normal market.
Oh.
So if we're doing a show here and it's virtual for Phoenix Stage Company, somebody in California won't be able to buy a ticket.
Sorry, Bruce.
So they're looking for geo filtering or a way to control that you sell tickets within your normal geographic sphere.
And is that determined by theater? What the geographic location?
Right. It would be by theater, and that's how they grant rights now.
Yeah.
You know, they look at anyone in a certain distance that's doing a show, whether it's professional or.
Because we actually found that to be a problem when we were in Naugatuck. We couldn't do a play because we're that much closer to New York City.
We were.
And we moved out here, maybe 10 miles away, and all of a sudden the rights
and it opened
available.
up for us.
That's crazy. I think dining room was one of those.
Well, dining room was limited because of the number of seats. We had to have a minimum number of seats to do the A.R. Gurney shows.
Sure.
And we didn't have those at Naugatuck, so we came out here.
So say we're going to go ahead and do a virtual performance of something. We're gonna put it out there at limited broadcast. Do we have to sell tickets?
They want you to sell tickets.
Okay.
The shows are here to support not only the playwright and the agents, but also the theater, right? Yeah. So they want you to sell tickets at the normal price that you would sell tickets for someone to come into your theater. Now, you could offer limiting your audience to just an invitation only free event. Yeah. But again, they're looking for kind of that geo filter where they want you to stick within your region or within your little area.
So
there are a lot of challenges that they talked about. They talked about the drive-in theater aspect of it, where someone in one household would buy a ticket to a virtual event, and then they'd have a party, and there'd be 10 people over.
Yeah, like a pay-per-view.
They're not sure how they're going to go forward with it, but they're working with these specific companies to do these formats that will manage everything for us.
Right.
So it goes through one company, and it's not going through a whole bunch of hands.
That's so much.
It's so much. And that's why we're really glad we have people like Michael Calabrese, who understands all this tech stuff, sits at this table and pushes these buttons and, makes us look good up here.
Are we looking good, Michael?
Looking great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
there's a lot there. And as you said, you talked with Craig for a good 20 minutes.
I did.
At some point, we'll make that available.
Did he, Craig took time out of his day to talk to me. Not only is he working from home, but he's homeschooling his 5-year-old daughter. So, she's running around and keeping him busy too. So thank you, Craig, for taking the time to talk to me. I also want to thank Nate at Concord Theatricals and Mary over at Dramatic Publishing.
It's a whole new world.
It really is. It really is. It's just something that we have to deal with. I mean, I have pages of notes, and I've highlighted all kinds of things because after they talked to me, I got emails with what they require us to do in order to do virtual performances. So it's going to be a learning curve for everybody.
Sure. And we're not the only, this is for all theaters.
It's for all theaters. Yeah. It's for all theaters. And, like I said, the idea of do it now and ask forgiveness later.
That was the old way.
That was, they were really clear about that with me. I didn't even bring it up. I think they thought I was asking all these questions like, he doesn't really have a podcast. He wants to do a show and he's trying to see what he can get away with. It's like, no. So I think they were all warning me. And don't worry, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay.
That was a lot of legal stuff. I think we should have some fun now.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. We are gonna have some fun. So and now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Well, she's been waiting for it.
A visit with Teresa Alexandrov. You've seen her on stage at Phoenix Stage Company in quite a few shows. Yes. I have a list here. She was in Steel Magnolias, Female Transport, The Butler Did It, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, The Cover of Life, Mrs. Bob Cratchit's Wild Christmas Bin, The Octet Bridge Club, Death by Fatal Murder, and many, many, many one acts over our seasons. She was also in rehearsals for the Cuyahoga Canal Girls when all of this happened. Teresa, are you there with us?
let's bring in Teresa.
Hi.
Oh, there she is. Hi,
Sorry,
Teresa.
we couldn't hear you for a moment. How are you doing?
Well, I'm hanging in there. How are you guys?
We're
doing-
here.
We're
We're here. Look, we have popcorn.
We do. We have popcorn.
It was fresh made. It's like bringing everything back. Just walking in and smelling the popcorn popping.
Yeah, it was the first time since March 20th that we've made popcorn.
I can smell it from here. It smells delicious.
Oh, sorry, I thought we took care of that. How you doing? How
You know,
you surviving all this?
yeah, it's been interesting for sure. In some ways, my life is a little bit less different or less disrupted than others. I typically work from home normally, so that's something unchanged for me. My husband usually works from home a couple of days a week and then is traveling, so he's home, which is great. And I have been lucky enough that I have picked up some extra shifts at the cat shelter that I volunteer at. So it's a great way to stay involved and give back to the community and get out of the house a little bit. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's
Let me ask you about that, Teresa.
Hold on. I have a question. Teresa, what's that over your right shoulder?
oh, right here. Do you ask?
What is-
Well, many of you have heard that I did keep the doll that we named after my character in Female Transport Pity that Jane Coughlin gave me after the performances were over. And I have often said that I work from home, and when I'm on video calls, Pity is right behind me creeping everyone out. And there she is, right there, along with my Nora towel from Octet Bridge Club. So I didn't stage this. I keep Phoenix stuff very close to me all the time.
That's special.
You know, speaking of working from home,
Yes.
what do you do for work, Teresa?
I work for a nonprofit organization, and we work with the Connecticut State Department of Education to run a teacher recruitment program. So I recruit mostly second career teachers. So people who are coming from other jobs and they've been in the corporate world or the nonprofit world, and they're looking to make a difference in their community and make a change, and I help them make that a reality. So I'm a former teacher myself, so it's really near and dear to my heart, and I come from a family of educators, so it's just a way that I feel really passionate about making sure that anyone who is even thinking about doing the great work of being a teacher has somebody who's there who can help guide them through the journey and encourage them on their way. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. Thank you for your work.
Yeah, thanks.
We need good
Thanks
teachers.
for
I wanted
asking.
to ask you about this cat shelter because, you know, my wife Lori also volunteers at a cat
She
shelter.
does.
And when COVID-19 really hit, they basically emptied out the shelter.
They
and
fostered the
They
cats.
fostered everybody out.
They didn't, empty
Didn't
it out.
just-
Didn't kick them to the curb. Yeah, that's
Right. Did that happen at your shelter too, or
no.
they're
So
still going?
yeah, the shelter that I volunteer for is Forgotten Felines in Westbrook, Connecticut.
Okay.
It is a no-kill and free roam shelter. So we have very large rooms and what we call catios, which are sort of like screened-in porches for cats. And in each room, there's between 20 and 50 cats per room. So in the shelter in total, we have hundreds of cats.
Wow.
And I personally work in the infirmary, so that's the only part of the shelter with cages, and it's where new cats come in and they sort of go into quarantine before they go to the vet, or where sick cats are. So there would just be no way for us to stay closed. There's so many cats that we have that depend on us, and so I go in 3 days a week at this point. And I
The important question is, do they have a kitten room?
The kittens actually are in foster homes until they reach a certain age.
I have gone into Lori's shelter. It's the one in Naugatuck, Animals for Life. And I know they have so many regulations about things to do when you go in there. And I've gone in like twice. She goes twice a week. And she'll just tell me, go sit with the kittens. That's my job. and they run all over you and they have a really good time. That's wonderful. So glad to hear it. First of all, it's a no-kill shelter, and that you're spending time there. Thank you for that on behalf of the cats.
Yeah.
Do you yourself have any pets?
I have 2 cats. Yeah, one of them was just right behind me up until then he got a little nervous, stage fright, yeah.
That's understandable.
Pity scared him away.
Yeah.
Mr. Boots is 7 years old. In 2 days. In 2 days, he turns 7. He's a rescue. He was
You're gonna have a party.
Well, we usually give him a little salmon cake. We just like take his wet food and like dump it out so it looks like a cake and put a candle in it. So maybe we'll do that for him.
Okay.
Salmon's his favorite, and he's on a prescription diet most of the time, so it's a real treat for him. But he's a rescue. He was found under the hood of a car in a snowstorm, and when he was a kitten, and we've had him for 6 years of his life. And then about almost a year and a half ago, we adopted a second cat from Forgotten Felines, where I volunteer. Her name is Feather. She has FIV, which is feline AIDS.
Right.
And a lot of shelters actually won't even keep them necessarily. And
Sure.
so, and she's.
I'm sorry, I thought you have to isolate them. You can have them together.
So yeah, it's typically people assume that they have to be kept separate, but she and Mr. Boots get along fine. She's turning 15 this year.
Oh, God.
And she has no teeth. So they couldn't get into a fight if they wanted to. He's a scaredy cat. She's got no teeth. So, you know, it's
my cat
year-old zoo here.
And he had them all removed, and I was brokenhearted. I didn't know, well, how is this poor cat going to eat? And the vet said, "Oh, don't worry, their jaws will get so hard, it'll be like having teeth." And as soon as we got him home, he started eating everything again because it didn't hurt.
I'm surprised those ruffles on your shirt didn't do that over age.
Well, they held up pretty well, I think.
So Teresa, how did you meet your husband, Mike?
Yes.
Oh, well, we met working at a fine landmark of the state of Connecticut and America's oldest continually running amusement park, Lake Compounce.
Oh, wow.
Bristol, Connecticut.
Okay.
We both were working in the food service department there. I worked there for 7 years. I still say it was the best job I ever had. I loved teaching, but it was just so fun. And we both ended up being managers there. We didn't date until after he didn't work there anymore, but it was just such a fun job. I ran the food carts. So like the cotton candy stand and the candy apple stand and the pretzel cart, all of those things was what I managed. And we were just best friends for a very long time until he came to his senses.
Oh.
So after working at the cotton candy stand, can you even stand the smell of cotton candy now?
Yeah, I don't really like to eat it, but I do love to make it. It's really fun. It's like,
did you ever put your hand in and just like, make your own cotton candy on your hand?
Yes, that's how I actually clean it out, but it's really dangerous actually. Like you wouldn't know this, but yeah, the inner part where you pour the sugar in this like little motor thing that has a hole on the top.
Yeah.
And it spins really fast. And on the sides of it are these like crazy, it's like these metal grates with little blades. And then on top, there are these like 2 metal leather straps. And it spins like really fast and it like spits the sugar out.
It sounds like a sugar dungeon.
Yeah, it's like kind
What's
of
going on? Leather straps and spikes. It sounds like a Friday night date.
I do have to ask our producer, because he's an expert on things. Are there many cotton candy accidents that you get insurance reports on over there?
No, not too many. Not too many cotton candy accidents.
You almost had one with Teresa.
But I have the scars to prove it. Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
So, Teresa, what brought you to the Phoenix Stage Company the first time?
Oh, what a great question. Hopefully I
No,
won't
it
get
was
like
Naugatuck.
emotional or anything.
It was in
Um,
Naugatuck, right? Oh.
Yeah, it was in
yeah, so it was in Naugatuck and it was December 2012. Was when I first auditioned for a show. I'm a theater kid, born and raised. Unfortunately, I was not able to do theater in college because I wasn't a theater major. And when I moved back to Connecticut after teaching, and was getting reacquainted with the area, my mom, Gail, hi mom, if you're there. She has been friends for years with Donna Storms, and we love Donna. And so they got to talking one day about how I love theater and I was looking to get back into it. And Donna recommended that we come see a show she was directing in Naugatuck. And, I had some popcorn. I saw Ed do the intros, and like I could just tell it was I saw that carpet. How could you stay away from that carpet?
The carpet kept you there. That's good. What show was it? Do you remember?
The first show, well, I saw it was either Harvey or Beyond Therapy.
She directed both of those, yeah.
Donna directed both of those, yeah. So it was probably Beyond Therapy because it was pretty early on. And you were in the One Act Festival, and Harvey was a little later.
Yeah.
So it was probably Beyond Therapy.
Probably was Beyond Therapy then. Yeah.
So I'm gonna skip down a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm gonna ask this question. So we were really, really super close to opening the Cayuga Canal Girls by Laura King. And we had to stop rehearsing and we closed up March 20th. Now, honestly, have you read your script since we went dark?
Yes, I have.
Good for you. You know what? I believe you. I do. I believe you. And are you still looking forward to the show?
Definitely, 100%. Yeah, I know that it was the best decision for all of us and for Phoenix and for Laura. And, I'm so excited still, maybe even more excited. It's been kind of interesting. I mean, this is obviously the first time I've rehearsed for a show and gotten so far and then not performed it. And I really do feel like Eliza, that's my character. For those who don't know, Eliza is like with me. Like I can still, normally when a show happens, like the show is done, I say goodbye to the character. I have my little mementos I put in my office, and then, I can like walk away from it and feel like the character is at peace. But Eliza's still like with me. I can like, she's like over on my shoulder almost. I can still feel her with me. And so I'm really excited to tell her story, even if it's a year later.
Well, for the viewers out there, the Cayuga Canal Girls was written by Laura King. It's a new work. We were supposed to do a world premiere in March of this year before this pandemic hit, and we had to close down. And so now that show will be opening on March 20th of 2021. So that means that you guys will have had like 18 months of rehearsal with the script.
Yeah.
The longest in history.
Yeah, because we went 6 months with Almost Maine.
We did. Yeah. So is there anything in particular that makes the Cayuga Canal Girls special for you or that draws you to it?
Well, I think it's a few things. Just really it's such a unique opportunity that the theater and we've been afforded to be able to premiere a new work for the world. And that's just such an amazing thing to begin with. And so I was really interested in that. Working with Laura was phenomenal. I mean, it was such an amazing experience. We did a workshop for a few days with her. That was just an amazing experience. And as many of you know, I'm always drawn to our shows that have an entirely or almost entirely female cast, so they have really strong female characters. I'm a proud feminist. I went to actually a second generation women's college graduate. And it just, I love to tell stories about women and to bring voices to women and women's experiences that may not have always gotten the attention that they should have. And so I read the piece and knew it was something that really resonated with me. And I'm not going to give anything away, but it's just, I love to play with strong women, and so it's it was a great experience, and I'm really looking forward to picking up where we left off.
Well, that workshop was amazing with Laura King and with the dramaturge, Kathy Pingle. It was a wonderful experience. So we look forward to getting back onto the stage and working the boards with it.
I imagine that when you have your first rehearsal, it's going to be like a reunion, getting everybody back together.
Oh yeah, and actually, that's the third part, was like all of these women I have worked with before in one way or another, and so it's just such an honor to be able to tread the boards with them. And I'm so excited to get back together. It's going to be like a high school reunion, I feel like, when we get.
And the show is kind of about a reunion. So how
see that? How we tied that in.
We tied it right in.
Yes. Teresa, do you have other than Cayuga, do you have a bucket list show or a role that you've always wanted to do and haven't done yet?
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That's the question. That's the big question of the day.
So that's a great question. I would say, I don't know if like you guys really know this, but I'm a big fan of musicals. I like to watch them. I don't like to be in them, but I used to do musical theater, and it's just something that it's the only thing when I have to sing on stage, it's like the only thing that makes me nervous. Anyone who was in the Christmas show, Mrs. Bob Cratchit's Wild Christmas Binge, whatever it was, remembers I almost like threw up before every performance because I had to sing right at the beginning. So that being said, I think like some of the musicals that I really love and grew up with, I would love to like, get the courage to be in a musical, really any musical, but I mean, what'd you say?
The Music Man.
Not The Music Man.
A long story about The Music Man. We'll share it with you on another podcast.
Another time.
We're already like rolling into this.
But it's actually kind of, I think we're in the same boat here. I'm at that point where I would love to do a big musical again, just to do a big musical.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not the rules are not important. Just
what's your favorite food?
Cheese and pasta. So mac and cheese, I guess.
Preach, baby, preach, girl.
Cheese. With this last question for you.
Excuse me. What activity, now that we've been cooped up pretty much for the last 3 months here, besides theater, Teresa, what activity are you really looking forward to getting back to doing?
Traveling for sure. I love to travel. I love to go on cruises, but I also love to go, on non-cruises as well. We went to Ireland last year, and it was probably one of my favorite places I've ever been. And I was really looking forward to actually going back this year. So I think just getting back out there and seeing the world.
And you went to Transylvania too, didn't you?
Yes, I've been to Transylvania. It's where my husband's family is from.
Oh.
I'm gonna leave the commentary there.
Mike doesn't sleep hanging from the ceiling, does he?
No, but he loves garlic, so I think.
So he's a hybrid vampire.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, Teresa? We have a game that we want to play with you.
Okay.
So Tim has all of that.
It's time for Jargon Gymnastics. Stretch your mind and your tongue. Now, here's what we're going to do, Teresa. We have 3 words from a foreign language that I looked up personally. Today's words are German. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you the word and then 3 possible definitions, and your task is to pick the correct definition. If you get 2 out of 3 correct, you and one of our subscribers on YouTube will win a prize. What are they going to win, Ed?
Ooh, no, we're going to tell them after.
We're
In
gonna tell
case
them
they don't
afterwards.
win. I don't want to build up their hopes.
Ooh, okay.
I'll tell them what they lost.
So,
Why do you pick a language I don't speak? That's mean.
so you don't speak German, right?
No, my husband does, but I don't.
So, yeah, just take your time
Close the door.
think
Don't let
this
him hear
through.
Yeah, no, he's somewhere else.
Okay. Here's your first word. Zugenbrecher. Zugenbrecher.
Zugenbrecher.
He speaks German, so you'll be better at this. Is it A, someone who teaches Zumba in Berlin? B, a German tongue twister? Or C, the electrical junction boxes found outside people's homes?
Can you say it again?
Zugenbrechter. It always sounds, if you say it angry, it sounds better.
Zugenbrechter.
I'm gonna go with, oh God, I'm scared. C.
Are you sure?
No. Yeah. B.
B is
B.
We forgot to get the bell. Yes, that is correct. Zugenbrechter is actually German for tongue breaker, and it's a German tongue twister. That's great. You got one. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. The next
That
word.
went well. Good.
Look like getting a little help from the next word is Luftschloss.
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 Okay.
Is it A, an unrealistic dream like winning the German lottery? Yay. B, is it the leading brand of German dental floss? Or C, the term for the distance between the multiple Starbucks at the Cologne Bonn airport?
A.
A.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. You're 2 for 2. That is correct. Luftschloss actually means air castle, which roughly translates into an impossible dream.
A dream in the sky, pie in the sky.
Wow. You're going to go for the clean.
You know how I knew that?
What's that?
I said I knew that. Well, I had a sense because at one point in my life, I knew how to sing 99 Red Balloons in German, and Luft sounded familiar.
That's
Yes.
right.
I just remember Luftwaffe from Hogan's Heroes. So, here's your final one to go for the clean sweep. Kummerspeck. 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 Is it A, a tiny, annoying insect that only lives one day, usually in mid-April, and sounds like this?
Wee, 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 wee.
B, the weight gained after a bad relationship breakup? Or C, a small semi-sweet fruit found only in Dusseldorf? Are you Googling?
No.
Okay.
C.
Wow, a clean
Did
sweep.
she say C?
She said B.
She said B?
Yes, a clean.
Oh yeah, B. Yeah, no, I said B.
She said
Oh, I
C.
thought you said B. Sorry, clean sweep.
I promise we'll get better at this. Well, that's correct. It is actually the weight gained after a bad relationship break.
Wow.
And it's not the annoying insect.
Wow, Teresa, that was awesome. You won. That is great.
So, Teresa, you have to pick a number between 1 and 17.
17.
17. So you and Zaz Branding and Marketing are our winners.
Yes,
this
you
week.
won a prize, and you have each won a custom-made Take Flight with Phoenix Stage Company COVID-19 mask.
Oh my gosh.
And we have these new wonderful bracelets for Phoenix Stage Company. They haven't come in yet. They're part of theaterstrong.org. They're an orange latex band that says Phoenix Stage Company on one side and Theater Strong on the other. It's a special fundraising effort by theaterstrong.org. Thanks for playing,
Amazing.
Teresa.
Oh, sure.
It was so much fun talking to you and catching up with you and finding out all the stuff that we didn't know about you, even though you practically live here with the rest of us sometimes. It just seems that way. We've done a lot of shows together, Teresa.
We sure have. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us on Take Flight Live, our inaugural live podcast, Teresa.
Thanks for having me. I feel like a celebrity.
You are.
You are. You're famous.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
So, Ed, what's going to happen next week?
So listen, so next week on June 11th, it's Thursday, we're doing a special Cooking with Colleen Renzulo episode.
What?
Yes, yeah, it's going to be great. What are we making, Tim?
We're going to make slutty brownies.
That's right, we are. So listen, we're going to publish this week on our Facebook page. You're going to be able to find a list of ingredients so you can cook along with us at home. It's going to be great fun. So Colleen will be in her kitchen. We'll be here. We'll be cooking along with Colleen.
Yep.
We'll flash back and forth.
Yep.
And then we'll share slutty brownies together when it's over.
And she did give us a hint about preparation ahead of time.
She did. So, and then all the instructions will be on our Facebook page for you before next Thursday. So you have some time to go to the store. There's no yeast, no toilet paper, no flour. You won't have to worry about that because you can't find any of that stuff, right?
Put toilet paper and slutty.
I'm just saying those are the empty shelves. You'll be able to find all the ingredients. I guarantee it. It's really fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. And we'll be sampling slutty brownies live on our podcast.
We will, and Colleen will be eating them from her kitchen with her cat Carol. And and Michael will be here. Of course, he'll eat them, and I'm sure that our lighting genius Al will be in the room. He'll have some too.
Before we sign off, we do have a question, right? We have to bring up here.
Oh, do we have something? Our producer is. Oh, hold on. Amber Dumpy asks, "Can a theater stream a show and have an audience? Is there an additional cost?"
That's a good question because we did talk about that as a possibility for the future.
We did talk about that, and Amber, that's something that they are working on right now. You know, again, the question is geo distancing.
Sure.
So I think they really have to work out how they're going to allow you to sell tickets to a streaming show, because one of the questions that they ask us to base our royalties is how many people are going to attend your show.
Right.
So we have to be able to give them some kind of an estimate. So it's really, really difficult. I mean, it would be great if we were here and someone in a family member across the country, like your brother, wanted to watch a show you were in, but they're not sure how they're going to handle that yet. But I'm sure that through all of this, with these platforms being developed for virtual and streaming performances, that they're going to come up with a way.
This
for that
is
to
again
happen.
what we're talking about, the wave of the future, and that example right there is a perfect example of once everything is back to normal, that we can have a live audience and yet still expand our audience.
Correct, because there will be some people that aren't comfortable, either are not comfortable with coming out yet,
Yep.
or when we open, if we're still under distancing rules, for example, here in our audience, we'd only be able to fit 40 people,
Right.
if that.
Yep.
It depends on the needs of the audience,
Mhm.
but given the rules and the spacing, we would only have to be able to have 40 people. So if there's someone at home that wants to attend the show at home,
Yep.
how do we deal with that? So the publishers they're all working on that, how we could best work that out, and if it would cost any additional stuff on the licensing.
Like pretty much everything about this subject, there's more. Every time you answer a question, you see me got 5 more questions after that.
Yeah.
And we're just all figuring this out together.
And it will come around. I guarantee you
Yep.
that next year you're going to see theaters doing live and streaming
virtual.
performances
Mm.
that people will be able to purchase into. I mean, already the Metropolitan Opera does a streaming opera series. You see them up at the Warner Theater all the time.
Movie
And the
theater
Nancy
show.
Marine,
Yep.
they do the Metropolitan Opera series.
Yep.
So they're streaming the operas as they're happening there. So there's a way to do it.
Yep.
There is a way to do this. It's just, how do we ticket it? How is that going to affect the licensing costs for all of us?
Yeah.
It's something that's going to work out. I guarantee you that we're
We'll get there. Like everything else about
We
this
will.
whole thing.
Thank
we
you
will
for that
get
question, Amber Dumpy.
there. We appreciate it.
We really do.
Yep.
We really do. So listen, we need to thank our sponsors.
Black Hog Brewing Company,
Yep, Black Hog.
Oxford, Connecticut.
They're out by the airport and they're quite
Bless
fabulous.
you guys. We
I
miss you.
don't know if they're open yet, but they're still doing curbside service. You can go onto their website. You can order stuff, drive up, and they'll bring it right to your car.
They're really
If you
good.
don't have time to order, you can drive up. They have a board there, tells you what's available that day, and they'll take care of you.
Good boy.
We also want to thank Sierra Ridge Media Arts and Deb Cryan. She made this banner for us, and she does so much for us, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, Deb. Thank you,
Yep.
Sierra Ridge. We want to say a thank you to our techie producer, Michael Calabrese, and our lighting genius, Al Hathaway, for being here.
Thank you for not turning off the lights.
Yeah, Al looks like a dandelion right now because he hasn't had a haircut.
Yeah.
So thank you all for watching. Don't forget
Subscribe.
to subscribe to our channel. You can also donate at any time using the link below your screen. And anyone who donates to Phoenix Stage
I don't
Company
see it.
will receive one of our new Theater Strong bracelets as a thank you
Where is
for
it?
your support of Phoenix Stage Company. And that includes the folks that donated during our Voices for Phoenix. Tim, you can't see the link. It's on the screen below us.
Oh.
Yeah, so you're okay.
I got
You're
that.
okay. Yeah, don't bend down. I don't want you to get cut by the ruffles on your shirt.
That was
So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing and for your support of Phoenix Stage Company. Goodbye until next time. Next week.